The 1980s were a time of flashy fashion, big hair, and larger-than-life TV characters. Not a lot of shows captured that era more than the A-Team.
Where we going?
Keep on going, we're gonna turn right up here.
I ain't going to no airport, Hannibal. I ain't gonna fly with that crazy fool Murdoch.
Airing from 1983 to 1987, the A-Team was a blend of action, humor, and heart. With its memorable catchphrases and a gang of misfit soldiers of fortune, the show became a cultural icon, beloved by millions across the globe. For many, the A-Team wasn't just any television series. Every week, viewers tuned in to see Hannibal's cunning plans, Face's charming cons, Murdoch's zany antics, and B.A. Baracus's tough guy exterior, complete with a soft heart for those in need. The show had its trademark explosions and over-the-top action, but what captivated audiences were the characters themselves, flawed, courageous, and ultimately loyal to one another. While the adventures of the A-Team live on in reruns and the hearts of fans, the time has been less kind to the actors who brought these characters to life. Over the years, several original cast members have passed away, leaving behind legacies that still live today. In this video, we'll journey into the A-Team, celebrating the show's impact and legacy while honoring the memories of the actors who have sadly left us. John Hannibal Smith, the mastermind behind the chaos. Colonel John Hannibal Smith was a leader who made chaos look like an art form. Played with charismatic swagger by George Peppard, Hannibal was the cool, cigar-chewing mastermind who somehow always managed to pull off the impossible. You know the type, the guy who's always 5 steps ahead with a smirk on his face and a twinkle in his eye, even when everything's exploding around him. Hannibal didn't just plan, he thrived on the thrill of it. His catchphrase, "I love it when a plan comes together," wasn't just a line he dropped to look cool, it was his mantra. And honestly, who didn't love hearing it? Every time he said it, you knew the bad guys were in trouble and things were about to get interesting. Hannibal's ability to turn a hopeless situation into a perfectly orchestrated victory was half the fun of the show. It's as if the crazier the plan, the more excited he got. It wasn't just about getting the job done, it was about enjoying the ride. And what a ride it was. But Hannibal wasn't just a clever strategist with a love for disguises. Seriously, who else could pull off being a Chinese laundromat owner one day and a cowboy the next? He was also a man of deep conviction and loyalty, and that made him more than just a trickster with a plan. Having been wrongfully accused of a crime during the Vietnam War, his sense of justice wasn't just for show, it was personal. What made Hannibal such a compelling character, beyond his genius and love for adventure, was his unpredictability. You could never quite tell what he was going to do next. He didn't just think outside the box, he crushed it and built something new. His fondness for elaborate disguises, whether dressing up as Mr. Lee the dry cleaner or some over-the-top character straight out of a Wild West show, kept both his enemies and the audience on their toes. You'd be hard-pressed to find a villain who didn't fall for one of his over-the-top ruses. The man was a chameleon, able to blend into any situation and always with a plan up his sleeve, or hidden under that black leather glove. It was his unique ability to lead from the front, get his hands dirty, and take risks that endeared him to viewers. His courage, cleverness, and wicked sense of humor made him more than just a leader. He became a hero. Of course, George Peppard wasn't just famous for his role as Hannibal. Before the A-Team, he was already a big name in Hollywood, starring alongside Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961, as the charming and mysterious Paul Varjak. He also wowed audiences in films like The Blue Max, 1966, where he played a First World War fighter pilot. Peppard had the reputation of being a talented actor, though he could be a little tricky to work with behind the scenes. But when it came to playing Hannibal, Peppard's authoritative presence and undeniable charisma made him the perfect fit. He wasn't just acting, he was Hannibal, thriving on the chaos and bringing the audience along for the ride. Sadly, like many heroes, Peppard faced battles in his personal life that were far more challenging than anything the A-Team could dream up. Being a heavy smoker for many years, Peppard was diagnosed with lung cancer in the early 1990s. He underwent surgery to remove part of his lung, but the disease returned, leading to his untimely death on May 8, 1994, from pneumonia complications arising from his ongoing health struggles at 65 years old. Peppard's passing was a major loss, not just to fans of the A-Team, but to the entertainment industry as a whole. However, his portrayal of John Hannibal Smith remains one of his most beloved roles, a character who wasn't just the leader of a ragtag team of mercenaries, but also the embodiment of cleverness, courage, and charm under fire. Templeton Face Peck, the charming con man. Templeton Face Peck wasn't just the A-Team's resident smooth talker, he was the ultimate charmer who could talk his way out of anything, or into anything for that matter. Played by the effortlessly cool Dirk Benedict, Face was the guy you wanted around when you needed a favor, a flashy car, or a fake identity, all without a penny to your name. With his movie star good looks, perfect hair, and signature grin, Face could stroll into any situation and walk out with exactly what the team needed, whether it was weapons, vehicles, or a luxury penthouse. The man had a gift, and it made him an invaluable part of the A-Team. But Face was far more than just a pretty face. Sure, he could charm the socks off just about anyone, but beneath that suave exterior was a man shaped by the shadows of the Vietnam War. Like the rest of the A-Team, Face had been wrongfully accused and found himself living life on the run as a fugitive. This left him with a bit of a cynical streak and a desire for the finer things in life, as though he was trying to compensate for everything he'd lost. He enjoyed the high life, fancy suits, expensive dinners, and the company of beautiful women, but there was always something more going on beneath the surface. Now and then, you'd catch a glimpse of Face's deeper yearning for a more stable, conventional life, one free of the danger and deception that came with being part of the A-Team. For Benedict, the A-Team was a career-defining moment. While he was already familiar to science fiction fans for his role as Starbuck in the original Battlestar Galactica, it was his portrayal of Templeton Face Peck that made him a household name. The role allowed Benedict to showcase his range, balancing Face's lighthearted charm with moments of genuine vulnerability. Robert Vaughn, the calculating general. Robert Vaughn, who joined the A-Team in its later seasons as the enigmatic General Hunt Stockwell, brought a sense of gravitas and mystery to the show. Vaughn's character was often a foil to the team, playing a puppet master of sorts, doling out missions that required the team's unique brand of ingenuity and firepower. Known for his slick, calculating demeanor, Vaughn's character of Stockwell was both charming and quietly intimidating. He wasn't just another antagonist. He was a complex character who could never fully be trusted, adding layers of intrigue to the series' dynamic. Before joining the A-Team, Vaughn had already made his legacy in Hollywood with roles in films like The Magnificent Seven and the TV show The Man from U.N.C.L.E., where he played suave spy Napoleon Solo. His inclusion in the A-Team gave the show an additional edge, as Vaughn was a seasoned actor with a wealth of experience. His interactions with the team were often tense, as they navigated the blurred lines between ally and manipulator. Vaughn's portrayal of Stockwell showcased his ability to bring nuance to characters that lived in moral gray areas. Sadly, Robert Vaughn passed away on November 11, 2016, at 83 years old, after battling leukemia. Vaughn left behind a legacy as one of Hollywood's most versatile actors, capable of playing everything from action heroes to intellectual schemers. His role on the A-Team may have come in the show's later seasons, but it added a new dimension to the team's adventures, and his presence is remembered fondly by fans of the series. H.M. Howling Mad Murdoch, the lovable lunatic. Captain H.M. Howling Mad Murdoch was their wild card, their comic relief, and sometimes their biggest headache, all rolled into one. Played by the immensely talented Dwight Schultz, Murdoch was the kind of character who could make you laugh out loud one minute and leave you scratching your head the next. His antics were so off the wall that you never knew what he would do next. And that unpredictability was what made him such an unforgettable part of the A-Team. While Murdoch's behavior was often played for laughs, there was always an underlying complexity to his character. His madness wasn't just a gimmick, it was also a coping mechanism. Murdoch, like the rest of the team, had been deeply affected by the horrors of the Vietnam War. His antics and erratic behavior were a way of keeping the darkness at bay. Rather than let the trauma consume him, Murdoch chose to embrace the absurdity of life. It was his way of surviving, even thriving, in a world that didn't always make sense. Beneath the humor and the chaos, there was a certain sadness to Murdoch, a vulnerability that occasionally peeked through the cracks in his manic facade. One of the most touching aspects of Murdoch's character was his loyalty to the team, particularly his bond with B.A. Baracus. Despite their frequent bickering, often about Murdoch's flying or his off-the-wall behavior, there was an undeniable companionship between the two. B.A. might have constantly called Murdoch crazy and grumbled about having to fly with him, but deep down, he cared for him like a brother. And Murdoch, in his own eccentric way, loved and respected B.A. Their relationship added depth to both characters and provided some of the show's most touching moments. Murdoch's madness was his strength. It allowed him to see the world differently, to find joy in the absurd, and to help his friends in ways that no one else could. He was the perfect balance of chaos and heart, and that's what made him unforgettable. And as long as the A-Team lives on in our memories, Murdoch's wild antics, his infectious energy, and his undeniable loyalty will continue to make us smile. B.A. Baracus, the muscle with a heart of gold. Sergeant Bosco Albert B.A. Baracus, played by the one and only Mr. T, was the muscle and mechanic of the A-Team, but if you think B.A. was just about strength, you'd be in for a big surprise. With his unmistakable mohawk, gold chains, and tough guy persona, B.A. quickly became one of the most iconic characters on television. His catchphrases, especially "I pity the fool," and his ever-present use of "suka," became pop culture staples, still quoted by fans to this day. From the moment he stepped on screen, B.A. made it clear that he was not a man to be messed with. He was the team's physical powerhouse, capable of taking on just about any challenge that required sheer strength. Whether it was lifting entire engines with his bare hands, fending off multiple attackers, or building an armored vehicle out of spare parts, B.A. was the guy who got it done. His skills as a mechanic were just as impressive as his muscles, and his expertise with engines, gadgets, and heavy machinery made him a crucial member of the team. If something needed fixing, modifying, or outright building from scratch, B.A. could handle it. No questions asked. But as tough as B.A. was on the outside, it was his heart of gold that truly made him unforgettable. Mr. T's portrayal of B.A. Baracus was nothing short of legendary. His larger-than-life presence, both physically and personality-wise, made him the perfect fit for the role. There was a certain authenticity to Mr. T's performance, because in many ways, he was B.A. Baracus. Like his character, Mr. T had come from a rough-and-tumble background, having worked as a bouncer and bodyguard before landing his breakthrough role in Rocky III as Clubber Lang. But just like B.A., Mr. T was much more than his tough exterior. Off-screen, he was known for his kindness, generosity, and his dedication to helping others. Even after the A-Team wrapped, Mr. T remained a cultural icon. continuing to appear in television and film in roles that often capitalized on his tough guy image. But there was always that underlying message of positivity and resilience in everything he did, from his motivational speaking engagements to his battles with personal challenges, including his fight against cancer. In the early 2000s, Mr. T was diagnosed with a rare form of T-cell lymphoma. True to his fighting spirit, he underwent aggressive treatment and eventually beat the disease. Throughout his illness, he maintained the same courage and determination that made him a fan favorite on the A-Team, earning him even more admiration from his fans. Lance Legault, the persistent colonel. Lance Legault made a name for himself as Colonel Roderick Decker, one of the A-Team's most persistent pursuers. Decker was the personification of military rigidity, relentless, uncompromising, and always hot on the trail of Hannibal and his crew. Legault's portrayal of Decker brought a fierce determination to the role, making him a formidable adversary. His character was constantly trying to outsmart the A-Team, but inevitably, Decker would find himself outwitted by the team's clever tactics. Despite never quite catching them, Legault's portrayal added to the show's sense of cat-and-mouse suspense. Legault had a long and varied career in Hollywood, often portraying tough, no-nonsense characters in television and film. His deep, gravelly voice and intense screen presence made him a natural fit for roles that required a certain level of grit and authority. Whether playing military officers or grizzled lawmen, Legault brought a sense of authenticity to his performances. Legault passed away on September 10, 2012, at the age of 77 due to heart failure. Though he had many memorable roles throughout his career, his time on the A-Team left a lasting impression. His portrayal of Decker, while often frustrating for the team, added a necessary tension to the show that kept audiences engaged. William Lucking, the relentless Colonel Lynch. Colonel Lynch, portrayed by the formidable William Lucking, was the type of character who made every episode of the A-Team feel like a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. With his intense glare and commanding presence, Lynch was the military officer tasked with one job: bring Hannibal and his crew to justice, no matter what. The problem? He just couldn't quite catch them, no matter how hard he tried. But that never stopped Lynch. He was relentless. The kind of guy who believed that with enough determination and maybe a bit of luck, he could finally outsmart the elusive A-Team. Lucking played Colonel Lynch with a boiling frustration that made him the perfect foil to Hannibal's cool, collected demeanor. Lynch was a man who lived for rules, procedures, and the clear-cut idea that fugitives like the A-Team belonged behind bars. But every time he thought he had them cornered, Hannibal would whip out one of his wild plans, leaving Lynch empty-handed and red-faced. Still, Lynch never gave up, and that dogged pursuit made him one of the show's most memorable recurring characters. He wasn't just a thorn in the team's side. He was an embodiment of the military machine they were constantly running from. Lucking's portrayal of Lynch wasn't just about playing the typical by-the-book officer. He brought a sense of genuine urgency to the role that elevated Lynch from being a one-note villain to someone who truly believed in what he was doing. In a way, Lynch was a reflection of what the A-Team could have been if they hadn't been wrongfully accused, an officer determined to uphold the law no matter how flawed the system. But that dedication to duty, while admirable, also made him tragically blind to the fact that the team he was chasing wasn't just a band of criminals, they were heroes. Much like Hannibal loved the thrill of outwitting his enemies, Lynch lived for the chase. You could see it in the way Lucking would grit his teeth whenever the A-Team slipped through his fingers, or how his eyes would narrow whenever Hannibal threw him a taunting smile. Lynch wasn't just hunting the A-Team because it was his job. He was hunting them because he needed to prove he could. That determination made him a compelling antagonist, and while viewers knew he'd never catch the team, that wasn't the kind of show the A-Team was. It was still fun watching him try. Off-screen, William Lucking had a celebrated career, portraying tough guys, military officers, and lawmen across various TV shows and films. He had that rare ability to command attention whenever he stepped on screen, whether he was playing a no-nonsense sheriff or a hard-edged biker. His work on the A-Team may have played a smaller role compared to some of his other parts, but it left a significant impact. His performance as Colonel Lynch helped set the tone for the team's constant life on the run, giving viewers a clear sense of the stakes involved. Without someone like Lynch chasing them, the A-Team's victories wouldn't have felt as satisfying. Lucking's portrayal was key to making those early episodes crackle with tension. Sadly, William Lucking passed away on October 18, 2021, at the age of 80, after complications from a long illness. His death marked the loss of a versatile and talented actor who had spent decades making characters like Colonel Lynch come to life. Though his character never succeeded in capturing the A-Team, Lucking's performance ensured that Lynch would always be remembered as one of the show's most relentless and unforgettable adversaries. While it's heartbreaking to have lost some of the actors who brought the A-Team to life, their contributions to the show and to television as a whole will never be forgotten. George Peppard, Robert Vaughn, and others who have passed on left behind a legacy that continues to inspire and entertain. The remaining members of the A-Team, Dirk Benedict, Dwight Schultz, and Mr. T, are still here to remind us of the show's enduring impact. Through them and the memories of their fallen co-stars, the spirit of the A-Team remains alive and well. So while we mourn their loss, we also celebrate their lives, their performances, and the unforgettable impact they had on television history. After all, as Hannibal Smith would say, "I love it when a plan comes together." And for the A-Team, that plan was pure magic. Thanks for watching.